on today's episode of Alaska Cabin Adventures. Welcome back to Alaska Cabin Adventures. If you guys remember from one of my videos earlier this winter, we accidentally ripped the chimney off when we were trying to remove snow from the roof with a rope. So ever since then, I've actually had a leak coming down my chimney and getting all over the top of the wood stove. We're gonna try to seal around where that leak is happening. And we're also gonna sweep the chimney while we're up there for the season. And then next on the list, we're gonna build a hearth for the wood stove. So the first thing we gotta do is get that rope up and over the top of the roof. Barely sitting on there. Oh.
Nice.
Is it down?
Yeah, hold on.
I got a bunch of sheet metal screws to screw the chimney together where it came apart during the winter. The little threading pieces for the twist lock basically stripped out, so it's kind of on there loosey-goosey. So I think I'm just going to do some screws around it to lock it in. And then I'm going to need this thing, which is the sweep for the chimney. And I can't forget, I need my through-the-roof leak stopper. Anyway, I got lots of stuff to carry up there, so we'll get roped up and head on up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this bucket at the bottom of all of this, and then when it sweeps down, it should just kind of fill up the chimney, and then I'll lift it up slowly, and hopefully it'll just kind of pour into the bucket. Let's get on the roof. Put just a couple pieces of tape on this to keep it all in one big chunk for getting it up on the roof, and then I can take it apart and put it together when I get up there. Alright, so Louisa's getting all set up to belay me, which basically just means running the rope, and then the rope goes up and over the cabin to where I am. And so if I fall down, hopefully she'll be able to keep me from hitting the ground. All right, now this is an 8/12 pitch roof, so it's pretty steep and it's metal, so you slip pretty quick. All right, take. Okay. All right, keep on going. You're almost gonna have to pull me up. Okay. All right, one more. All right, that's good. So we're gonna take this cap off the chimney. It's dirty. There we go. Send it on down. There we go. There we go. Clean the cap while we're at it. So now we'll put the cap back on. There we go. I'm just gonna put some screws in to the part where it interlocks. All right, I'm ready. Okay, here's the view out behind, down at the pond. Starting to look pretty slushy. So, pull this boot back up. Whew, All right, down off the roof. I think it turned out pretty good. Now we just got to go inside and see what we caught in our bucket from all the creosote that came from the brush. I don't know if you guys can see, but creosote. My hands are all black and covered in gunk. Believe it or not, it's 10:30 p.m. So we're gonna settle in and we'll see you guys in the morning for the hearth building. Good morning, everybody. We're gonna get some coffee and breakfast going and get to work. Breakfast is ready. Because there's chicken in there. Yeah, I kept the chicken.
That's funny.
So currently it's 28 inches out from the wall and 32 inches across. And I think we're gonna widen that out a little bit and go 34 inches wide and then bring it all the way out to about 35 inches from the wall. I'm gonna remove the telescoping piece of chimney and it doesn't have anything holding it in, so I'm gonna pull it out while we work today. All right, well, we got the front part of the frame worked out. So this is just gonna be the inner framing. We're gonna do a trim board on the outside that tacks to this, but that'll be the front. So now we just have to figure out how far from here to the wall to make our 35 inches out. All right, so this cut is the one that takes it from the front angling all the way back to meet up with the wall. All right, so we got a few of the pieces for the interior framing of the hearth. We're gonna just lay it out and make sure we're on the right track, because believe it or not, this has been really tricky to figure out how to calculate the different lengths. When you think about it, the wood stove is really, really heavy. It's probably a couple 100 pounds. And then all the slate rock is heavy and the mortar is heavy. So we need a nice big thick piece of plywood and quite a bit of framing underneath. It's starting to look pretty good. So now we're gonna put some cross members in here and then put some plywood on the top. Yay. Looking good, one more. Love. 8 minutes. All right, well, somewhere along the way we went wrong, and this piece is too short, so these 45 sections don't meet it by about an inch. But then if we cut this one longer, we realize that the whole thing is gonna be too long, so something got funky by about an inch in there somewhere. All right, Moment of truth. We'll see if this piece that we measured to fit in here will work to complete our frame. Looks pretty good.
You got it.
All right, so we'll pack this guy in and on to the next step. All right, not a bad start. Alright, we've got our frame done. We did a whole lot of cross members on this just to make sure that there was no flex in the plywood when we put all the weight on it, because any kind of flex would crack our mortar. So we definitely went overkill with the cross bracing, but I think it will be a good choice, as Louisa has convinced me. Now what we're going to do is get a piece of plywood to go over the top of this. Alright, so we've got the frame here sitting on our plywood, and we're just going to go around and trace not only the outside for how to cut it, but also all the framing on the inside, so that way when we go to screw it down, we know where the studs are to sink it into. There we have it. Well, now we'll see if it fits. Looks pretty good, huh?
Oh yeah, looks real good. Yep, perfect.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Looks sturdy.
That is solid as a rock. All right, so we're gonna take this thing inside and put it up against the wall, and then actually put the wood stove on it and mark where the feet would sit. And we're gonna put these 4 paving stones that we bought where the feet go, which are nice and flat, so that way it's just nice and flush and flat and good to go. So anyway, yeah, carry this thing inside. Starting to get heavy. All right, here comes the fun. This thing is very heavy. 1, 2. That's why we built this thing nice and sturdy. That thing is not light. All right, now we'll move our old pad out of the way, these ugly blocks. So we'll push the hearth back against the wall.
And then move the stove where we want it.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. 2. That ain't going nowhere.
We'll try. Let's try like this.
2. There we go. Okay, now we want this thing plumb with the chimney, and the best way to get something plumb is to hang a string from it, which I happen to have this little chain sitting right here. So if we measure how wide it is, and we'll take the center,
It should be 31.
and we just want to make sure that those are equidistant from the outside.
About 6 inches. Yeah, they're about the same. A little bit more. There we go.
Well, as luck would have it, we ran out of propane for our heater today, of all days, that we actually need the propane heater since we can't run the wood stove. So we're gonna unhook the big propane jug that I have sitting out here and take a trip into town and get it refilled. And while we're out there, we're also gonna go down to the river and wash off all the slate stones, which will help the mortar to stick to them and make them look better. So that's what we're gonna do now. So I'll give you guys a look at what we're using. It's these nice chunks of rock that break really flat, and I think will look pretty nice. 2 days earlier, we had gotten all of our slate stone from this rocky outcropping along the side of the highway. We loaded up with as many rocks as we could carry, just to be sure that we didn't come up short when it was time to finish the hearth.
My feet are stuck.
Some of them look pretty cool. They have cool colorations on them. You guys can see kind of a rusty look and sort of iridescent almost. Her strong suit is definitely patience, and that's one of my weaknesses. So it'll pay off. They'll stick better and look better and just be done right the first time rather than my rushed way of doing things. Where I am good at stuff, she's better at it.
That's the saying.
We'll have heat again. Dog bed. There. Dog. There. All right, so now we're going to take a 2x6 and cut it so it'll go around the perimeter, which will stand up taller than the hearth pad so that we can recess the rocks down into it, and it should all meet level at the top. Well, the weather's starting to turn nasty on us, so I'm glad we're doing an inside building project and have the comfort of the porch to stay relatively dry. So anyway, I'm going to set my saw to 22.5 on this angle, so that way the two 22.5s make those 45-degree angles. Man, that'll work. What do you think, Norm? Think it's gonna fit?
Looks good.
Well, she ain't perfect. All right, so we're using a drill bit that's about as wide as the head of the screws. Just go a little bit in, and then we're countersinking the screws down in there a good ways, so that way afterwards we can go in with a dowel or some wood filler and cover them up and make them disappear. It's coming along. We've got the perimeter tacked on. Definitely some weird anomalies in the angles that just aren't fitting super snug, so we've pretty much resolved to getting it as close as possible, and then we're going to use grain filler to go through these cracks where the 45s didn't meet exactly right. So now we're going to put these little pavers down, and these are going to be where the feet go because they have a nice totally flush top, and then start mixing up some mortar. All right, Norman needs a run, so we're going to take the four-wheeler, or as we call it, the running machine.
Yep.
Give him a little exercise. He's ready. That's how you exercise your husky. All right, so Luis is gonna pick out some slate rocks to start putting the puzzle pieces together for the hearth, and I'm going to do what I actually do well, which is barbecue. It's really like putting together a puzzle. So I'm going to chop up some potatoes, and we're going to do barbecue chicken and mashed potatoes tonight. It's going to be good. All right, well, Lisa's been working at this for quite a few hours now to get all these pieces to fit together. And you can see our pavers kind of strategically placed where the feet of the wood stove are going to go. And she had to use a hammer to do a lot of breaking to get those to fit just right. I think it's looking pretty good. All right, so she's got the rocks transferred out so we can put the mortar in. Yeah, so now we got to learn how to do mortar.
It's like big grout, right?
We're using this Quickcrete mortar mix, which is very specific about wearing gloves and a mask. So we're gonna try to protect ourselves from it and see if we can mix it up into the consistency of something similar to frosting, so that if you hold it on the trowel sideways, it should still hold, it shouldn't drip off. All right, so I've never done this, so I don't exactly know how much water to add. So I'm just gonna add a little bit and mix it as I go until it starts to turn into the consistency I want. Okay, we'll start with that. Whew, this is heavy stuff. It's really hard to do by hand. Definitely wishing I had a mixer right now. Whew, man, my hand is burning so bad. There's all the dry stuff stuck at the bottom. Oh well. We'll get there. It's kind of working actually, just to sort of roll it around in a circle like that. It's forming into a big blob. So if I put it on the trowel, turn it sideways, it does stick. So that's what we want right there, for it to be able to go sideways and not drip off. So it's kind of taking a bit of a form in there. Now let's just hope that that's enough to do what we need. We'll see, otherwise I'll have to mix up this third bag. All right, so we're gonna start by just putting down the pavers, put a little bit of mortar on the bottom of the paver and set those right where we want them. Because those need to be laid out very specifically so that the feet of the wood stove will rest on them. So we got one down and Norman's ready to get in the way. All right, got our first piece starting to go in.
Beautiful.
So we've got a picture of how it was set up that we're referencing. Well, I vastly underestimated the amount of mortar that we would need to get everything filled in and get it up and flush with the trim line. So what she's doing is using some of these little pieces to kind of help lift up the other rocks so that it's close to flush with the outside edge of the wood. So we're kind of building them up with these little scrap rocks from the chipping pile, and then putting another coat of mortar over the top of that, and then placing the rocks.
That's better.
All right, we're almost there. And if you guys can't tell, it's actually 11:30 at night right now. And we're freaking exhausted, but the end is in sight. So I'm gonna get some more rocks and we're gonna finish this thing off. Now she's just carefully going around in between all the cracks and just use whatever mortar we have left over to try to fill them all in. And I think we're gonna run out, so we're gonna make a trip into town in the morning and get some more to finish the job. But learn from our mistakes. You definitely need more mortar than you might think. We should have just gotten a 60-pound bag. Well, good morning, everybody. It's day 3 of working on the chimney and hearth. And first thing we're gonna do is run into town and get some more mortar. It's about an hour drive, so it'll eat up the first chunk of the morning, but hopefully by the end of the day, we'll have this thing done and a fire burning in the wood stove yet again. All right, we're back, and it's time to mix up some more mortar, which last night I discovered that putting all of the mortar mix in first is a bad idea. It's better to add a little bit of water and a little bit of mix as you go. Once you get it in there, a good trick was just rolling the whole bucket around and make a makeshift concrete mixer. What you doing?
I'm filling in the cracks and the screw holes with wood filler that I'm gonna sand down later after it dries. You know, making it look pretty. And then I'll also be able to stain over the wood filler later, and it'll match the wood.
That works good. Clean as a whistle, if your whistle's really dirty. All right, well, we got the rest of the mortar added in to fill it kind of up to level with the rest of the rocks. And right now it kind of looks a little mucky, but that's just because you kind of fill it up, and then after it starts to set up a little bit is when you actually want to go in and then clean it off all the edges of the rocks. If you try to do it while it's still really wet, it'll end up just leaving kind of white smear marks on the rocks. So you wait till it gets a little bit tacky, and then you go in around your edges with a paper towel or whatever and kind of get it all cleaned up. So we're gonna let this set up, go ahead and clean the edges, and then put the wood stove on. All right, so the grain filler is all dried, and now she's going in and sanding it down, which I gotta say, starting to look slick already. Okay, all right, so the final step, we got to get the wood stove back on it. Ready?
think so.
1, 2. Back first. 1, 2, lift.
I think we put the pavers in the right place.
Yeah, looks like the feet are sitting right on the pavers, which is exactly what we wanted, so the stove should sit good. Ooh, it looks good!
We have a tape measure in here. Telescoping piece first.
Ooh, look at that. Oh, like a glove. All right, now all we gotta do is start a fire. Alright, well I could not be more pleased with how this hearth came out. This is exactly what I wanted. Couldn't have done it without the help of my lovely wife, Louisa, so thank you. I've been wanting a nice stone hearth in this cabin since I built it years ago, and today is the day I finally have that dream become a reality, so I couldn't be more pumped about it. I think it looks amazing. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Alaska Cabin Adventures.